Hi, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, this is in part setting up for my 100-day challenge, where if you're into it yourself, you'll be trying to regain some of the strength that you may have lost through atrophy and, dare I say it, old age or oncoming old age. It's already a done deal for me, of course, but but you don't have to sit back and accept it, and that's my my belief. So after I dealt in the first session about how when we get older we're likely to incur an injury, and that injury is an injury going on out there now with dogs fighting. The rule of the pack is what rules here, and so occasionally you'll hear a dog get put back in line according to the hierarchy. Anyway, on with the subject. So you may have incurred an injury, and that injury has laid you low for a while. You stop exercising, you take things, you rest up, you take things easy, and in doing so you aid that atrophy of the muscles to accelerate. The thing after that injury has occurred, and after you've healed from it, you feel somehow probably less likely to go back to a strenuous lifestyle, which you may have enjoyed before. Now, I do have a friend who is an absolute dedicated runner. He tells me, I run for my sanity. And that's what he does, and he stays sane and balanced by running. Lots of other people have different pursuits that they have: cycling or jogging, walking, and they maintain some kind of fitness, and they maintain some kind of mental balance too. So if you've had an injury, and I had a collarbone broken, plus another injury that I had at the gym with a sciatic nerve, both of which are extremely painful and extremely discouraging as far as doing any exercise. But of course you have to actually push yourself. Now, the thing about exercise is that the body responds, and I'm not revealing any great secrets, and it's not rocket science. The body is an amazing organism. It responds to the stress that you place on it. Now, stress is an overdone word. Stress is what we go, that's stress. Well, yes, that is stress, but then there's good stress as well. There's the stress that you put on a muscle, which makes it grow. Now, one of the things that our great celebrity Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was Mr. Olympia so many times, he actually worked with older people in their mid 60s on upwards, and he had them doing what he calls resistance training, which is lifting the weights. Well, you can do that, and you will get great gains. There is no question that you will get great gains. Even people who are runners, cyclists, swimmers, all of these athletes all do weight training as well, resistance training. So anybody can go and buy a few weights. You don't need to be an Olympic lifter. So you can go and you can buy enough weights to make things worthwhile. Right, so let's attack the myth that it seems to me that most women have about weight training and about resistance training in general, because the kind of resistance training that I do is lifting my own body weight. So that's the way there. Well, and we'll be going into that later. But women's fear is that they will start to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or they'll start to look seriously like one of those bodybuilder women who have bodies that, apart from breasts and a vagina, the fact that they're female, any man would be proud to have that kind of muscularity and bulk and strength. Well, women in general don't want that look, and of course quite rightly. But here's the point, is that those particular women that we're talking about, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers of the female genre, they are champions. They are completely dedicated to what they do, and that is their job. All of their nutrition, all of their weight training, all of their day is in the pursuit of that kind of bulk and muscularity. Now, when you talk to women very often about doing weight, why don't you do some weight training? They say, no, I don't want to be like one of those. No, I don't want to be like that. Well, the idea that you can go in and lift a few weights 3 times a week and look like that is as unlikely as wheeling a bicycle into a car wash and putting your coin in and then stepping around to the other side where it's going to be wheeled out. You paid your $1 and you put the bicycle in there, and then you wait for a BMW to arrive at the other end. That's how likely it is that your body will turn out to be like one of those superhuman bodybuilders. It's just not going to happen. So here's a tip for the ladies. Go to YouTube and instead of typing in female bodybuilders, type in fitness women. Now, the fitness women are awesome. The fitness women have a schedule which is very demanding, but what it does is it gets rid of fat and it puts on lean muscle. Lean muscle and strength to a controlled limit. And if you look at those women, they are hard bodies and they are incredible. So most women, if you showed them those fitness ladies, would say, wow, I wouldn't mind looking like that. And you can. Obviously, the earlier that you try to do that, the better. And what we're really talking about here is helping people to get back into some kind of fitness instead of allowing themselves to be on that escalator going down into old age. So, just to illustrate why it's important, possibly even more important for women to exercise their muscle and to gain lean muscle. Now, the way that a muscle works is, if you can, I'm going to oversimplify it obviously. It's not like an elastic band. A muscle is a much more complex mechanism than that, made up of tiny fibers. And when the fibers break down, they get gaps in between them. It's an oversimplified look at it, that my fingers are muscle fibers. As you put terrific stress on them, then they get space between them, you could think. And then that space fills in with muscle, because the body is having demands made upon it which it must meet. So, here's what would happen for a woman doing exercises. And if you look at this now there's the muscle, okay? And on each end of the bone is a place where the muscle can attach, and it attaches, and then when you lift something it stretches and then it comes back. Now the stretching part, when you go over the normal routine that you have, in other words, when you go into the weight room and instead of lifting a teapot or an iron or an ironing board, you lift something that's maybe 20 or 30 pounds, and it's a strain. And as it stretches like this, it gets those little gaps between the muscle fibers, think of it that way, and those gaps fill in, giving you more muscle. Now, what is the effect on that on the bones? So looking again at these 2 points, think of this as the bone, rather like this kind of thing, rather than 2 fingers and 2 separate points. So the the elastic band and the muscle goes along this bone. Think of your leg bone, right? Think of your forearm, and where it joins, it places stress on the bone. Now, most people will say, well, we don't want to stress the bone, do we? Well, yes, we do, actually, because when the bone gets stressed, it responds, and you could say that the message goes to the brain, and the brain says, oh, that's a bit more stress than I'm used to, and better make up the difference between the bone mass that we have and the bone mass that's needed if we're going to keep on doing this. So the mass of the bone increases in direct proportion to how much stress you put on it, how much controlled stress you put on it. Obviously, if you go and you're not used to lifting, say 20 pounds, and you go and you try to heft up a 50-pound weight, then you're going to be in trouble. You'll have a strain. So you're looking at trying to make it controlled. Now, how do you make it controlled? Well, the way that I've been taught in my service time, I went and spoke to the gym master when I was just a kid and said, I'd really like to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though he wasn't around by then. And how do I do that? So he took me through fitness training, which was that we would do different exercises in the gym in a circle, and they actually do this now. So we did press-ups, so push-ups, when you push up like this. Did push-ups, and how many? So what we did was we did all the various exercises, and we wrote down what my maximum was. And this is what I'll be doing in my 100-day challenge. I'll help you by showing what it means to me to find what your maximum is and write it down. You can say push-ups, press-ups, whatever you want to call them, but as long as you know what you're talking about. Now let's say that on any given exercise you're able to do 10. You're able to do 10 times. That's a rep, one repetition. So you do 10 times and then you absolutely can't do any more. Okay, you don't push it to pain level. You do what you can actually do, challenging yourself but not killing yourself. Now, let's say that you do 10. Now what you do is you cut it down by half, but you do 5 3 times. So now you know what your maximum is, you cut it down by half, and then you increase the number of sets. So every time you do 5, that's a set. Now your maximum, remember, was 10. So what you've done is you've taken away the ultimate for you at that moment of what you can do, and you just do 5. But you do 5 3 times. And then you go to the next exercise. Or, well, this will be at the beginning. And of course I'll show you the kind of warm-ups that I would do. Totally non-professional. I'm not a bodybuilding expert. I've got some experience. I've done martial arts for a great number of years in my life. I've always been a cyclist. I've always been a swimmer. These are all exercise routines, practices which are heavy on endurance rather than on bulk strength. You've only got to look at me to know that I was never into bulking up exercises. Routines. I never bulked up, and I weigh about 145 pounds now. So this is pretty good for my height, and that's what you should be looking at now, is not just about weight, but about what you look like. That's why it's important whenever you see these exercise routines that are being sold, they show you what the person looks like. And there you see them, and they're puffing their stomach out, and they're making themselves look a bit worse than they really do. And then when they do the after, or after 3 months or 6 months or whatever, the training, they're all slimmed down. So it's not so much about weight, it's about how you look. How trimmed down are you? You want to remember this. Muscle weighs heavier than fat. And the fat is being stored for a rainy day, which you are never going to have, because very few people, in the Western world at least, are really starving. They might be eating the wrong food, but you can see poor people are generally fatter because they don't eat the right food. So you're looking at building on some lean muscle, and you'll be getting rid of some of the fat. But more importantly, you'll actually be increasing your mobility and flexibility and your strength. So that's the goal of the 100-day challenge, which we haven't started yet. This has just been a talk about why I would do it, and hopefully to address the concerns of some of the ladies who are worried about looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger when they do their 20 minutes 3 or 4 times a week. Rest assured, Arnold is not worried. Okay, so on to the next, which will be number 3. Thanks for looking in, and I'm looking forward to the next part, because that's when we will be looking at just how far I've fallen back from my 100 press-up days. This is Foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in.